Hello and welcome back to another video. So this week I figured it'd be quite a lot of fun to have a look at some games. Some games that I want to see sequels to. Just a few. I've only got about 5, maybe 6. Yeah, maybe 7. Who knows? Yeah, 7. There we go. Grab another one off a pile I've got near me. So, yeah, this week, this little idea, this little exercise was kind of inspired by a thread on a forum that I frequent called spacebattles.com. So, hello to everybody on Space Battles. I will be posting this video here. I'm calling you out. Old forum on the internet I've been frequenting for about 14 years now. Jesus. Yeah, so, this is just kind of looking at some video games that I wouldn't mind seeing sequels to. Maybe new installments in long-running franchises. Maybe just games that have never had a sequel that need it. It's not many. No, it isn't many. But I think we'll start with Unreal Tournament. Now, firstly, screw Epic for dropping all of these from their lineup. Like, I don't think you can get any of the classic Unreal games, be it Unreal Tournament 3, Unreal Tournament 2003, 2004, Unreal Tournament 1, Unreal 1, Unreal 2, not that you'd want that one, Championship, etc. You can't get them on any digital storefronts anymore. They yanked it down, went, oh yes, you know this game series you are all big fans of? Go away. Unreal will only be the name of our crappy engine now. Which, yeah, fine. But at the same time, this is why physical media is so important. Still though, I wouldn't mind it if somebody went along to Epic, went, this is our series now, and go off and make a new Unreal game. I'd be very on board with that. I loved 3. I know a lot of people didn't like 3. I'll give you 3 is not as good as, say, you know, Unreal Tournament 2004. That one was fantastic. But Unreal Tournament 3 was my introduction to the series. It was the first game of the lot of them I'd played. I thought it was great. The vehicles are a lot of fun. They're considerably more fun than other installments in the franchise. And then I kind of moved on to Unreal Championship 1 and 2. I played Unreal 2 and I regret it because, yeah, that's up there. That game is terrible. But Unreal's a really good franchise. It's a lot of fun. It's weird and quite an inconsistent franchise, but it is certainly probably one of the better ones out there. Yeah, this is one that everybody has been asking for a proper, we'll get to that, sequel for about 20 plus years, 24 years-ish, and that is Conker's Bad Fur Day. So Conker's Bad Fur Day, if you don't know what it is a 3D platformer where you play as a very alcoholic squirrel who goes on to parody a lot of movies and just kind of has a really shit day. They did re-release this on the original Xbox, which I have there, and kind of stripped out its multiplayer, kind of focused on one mode. It was really cool, and the fact we didn't get that version for replay is shit. Fuck you, Microsoft, again. But, yeah. They did try to do a sort of sequel with a game called Project Sparks, which was a game builder tool kit thing that they released a bunch of this DLC called Conker's Return or some crap like that. It did not do very well at all. And just another example of Microsoft mishandling all of those properties that they had. And if there's one thing I could go back in time and change, it would be Nintendo selling Rare. Or more accurately, selling all their stocks in Rare. Don't do it. Don't do it. Most of the people left anyway and went to form other studios. So, yeah. Would be nice to have a Conker's Bad Fur Day 2. Maybe Conker's Not So Shit Day or something like that. That'd be great. Here's one that we have been not getting a sequel for. BioShock, specifically Infinite. Now, I know Ken Levine has left. Irrational closed it down and went on to form Ghost Story games, and they're now making Judas, which is kind of a spiritual sequel to, or successor, to Bioshock, but I wanted more Columbia. I liked Columbia. It was far more, I don't know, like the ride up to Columbia and kind of drifting down through the city was more pretty than Rapture. It was more interesting than Rapture in that respect. The enemies were fun. Just, yeah. I don't know. It would have been nice to have seen another Rapture, but in the sky. Bioshock Infinite, I don't know. It left a lot to be desired. I think the DLC in particular was hogwash. Burial at Sea was bad. Part 2, specifically. Part 1 was fine. It would have been a nice homage. But to have the second DLC focusing on Elizabeth going back to Rapture for the 4th fucking time, and then going to Columbia ever so briefly, just kind of made me go, I really want to play Columbia again. So probably Infinite's probably the one I go back to the most. Just strictly based on its combat. It's very good. It's aged phenomenally. Yeah. Want a new Infinite. Another game I wouldn't mind a sequel to, and this is not one you'll see talked about very often, Azura's Wrath. So I picked this game up 2013. It was my final purchase from a Blockbuster. So I'd just gone to university and I was like, you know what? There's a Blockbuster nearby. They sell games. I haven't bought one yet. I kind of wouldn't mind one just to tide me over. And I found this. It's basically a playable anime. It's even got admittedly, it does suffer from the fact its ending was DLC, but that's because that ending was supposed to be the sequel. The sequel was supposed to be like a whole game, but unfortunately Capcom were like, it didn't sell well enough, just release it as DLC, so they did. And yeah, it's a solid ending. It's a solid game. A lot of fun. I need to play this again, actually. I fucking love Azura's Wrath. But, yeah. I think it's a shame that Azura's Wrath didn't sell well enough. It was a wildly experimental thing. Bearing in mind, you're playing a guy who gets so angry that he punches a guy bigger than the earth in the finger and he explodes. And then the bosses only escalate from there. That's the first boss. It gets more insane as you go. You play as a guy, you play as Ashura, who's the guy on the cover. You play as his brother-in-law at one point. You're sprinting up the side of this thing that is also bigger than the earth, and you kick it in the jaw so hard, its giant laser beam from its forehead misses Azura, which is just bonkers. And the final boss is a guy bigger than galaxies. It's mad. It's completely insane. Azura goes bigger than the earth as well. It's all just ridiculous. And it's wonderful in that respect, and it does angry father figure gameplay better than a lot of other games I've seen. Yeah, it's a more deep game than you'd think. I could probably do a whole retrospective on this, actually. And I might, because this game is brilliant. You can pretty much get by on watching it online. If Capcom were to go, oh, we've remade it as a machinima, I'd be fine with that. I'd get that on DVD. But yeah, Azura's Wrath, great game. Go play it. Buy the DLC while you still can. I don't think that's going to be on Xbox One. Or Xbox Series X, for that matter. I don't think it is. Moving on, though. 2 games by both Namco and Sega, developed alongside Nintendo as part of an arcade board called the Triforce. So the Triforce is the one behind the 2 Mario Kart arcade games. It's behind the F-Zero AX arcade game, and I think it's behind a couple of basketball ones or baseball ones. I think they're Japan exclusive. It's very hard to find that F-Zero AX game. Very hard. I've never found it in the wild. I'd love to, and then buy it, but here we are. And those games are Star Fox Assault and F-Zero GX. Specifically F-Zero GX, because whilst we did get F-Zero 99 last year, that's not what I wanted from an F-Zero game. And that's okay. I'm glad other people are discovering this series. And logically, yeah, it's a good way, it's a good direction to take it. But the fact it's online only and blah, blah, blah. I discussed all this last week. I was not keen. I'm not keen on it. So, yeah, if you're going to put it, this is probably the best F-Zero game. It's the hardest by a bloody margin, but it's fun. And I'd love to see more. I'd love to see more of F-Zero, but it's just not a franchise we see too much anymore. It's almost like Nintendo forgot about it. Similar to Star Fox. The reason I picked Assault is because the last Star Fox game was Star Fox Zero, which, unlike F-Zero, is crap. It is god-awful. Controls are bad, story's bad, everything about it is just not great. Star Fox Guard was kind of a additional game to it, which isn't as bad. If you've seen my Star Fox video, you'll know. But Assault's my favourite one, and if we could just get a game like this again, all over it. All over it. With online multiplayer, I think it would be amazing. Whether it would sell would be a different story, but to be fair, you could just make it graphically similar to this, even in terms of textures and shit, and I still think it'd look good. It still looks good. Speaking of games that look like shit, Zombie U. Now, this did release on Xbox One and PS4 as Zombie. Clever. Zombie U was kind of the flagship launch title for the Wii U. It's a zombie survival horror game, which is strictly first person and single player. Has a multiplayer mode that if you've played the other two versions, you won't have played. That was really interesting. So you had one person controlling zombies, like popping them down on the map, and then you had one person fighting them. Now, if that had had, I don't know, multiple players, like hell, if Nintendo had gone to Ubisoft, hey, make that 5-player asymmetrical online, done, sold. I think that game would have been amazing. But unfortunately, that's not what we got, which isn't great. But Zombie U is a really solid game, and I wouldn't mind a sequel. We'll never get it, but I wouldn't mind. I think it'd be great. I think it'd be really good, especially if Nintendo kind of snagged this off of them. My brother bought me this when I think I first got my Wii U back in 2013. And you know what? It's a really fucking good game, so thank you for that. Bit of a shorter video this week, just strictly because I don't want to blather on too long about games series that I wouldn't mind seeing a comeback, because I'll be talking a bit more about that next week when we talk about Majesco. We're going to talk about Majesco because nobody talks about Majesco, and I really like what Majesco did, especially on the original Xbox. But that's not who we're talking about today. We are talking about Panzer Dragoon, specifically Orta. Now, I really liked Saga. I'm still yet to upload it to my Polymega as the time you'll be watching this, because I'm dumb. Because I'm not very clever. But Panzer Dragoon Orta was my introduction to the series. I'd kind of known about it through what was at the time called Will of the Ancients, is now called Panzer Dragoon Legacy. But Orta is probably my go-to game. It's great. It's got so much more than, say, 1 and 2 did. 2 does have branching paths, but this has a really solid storyline that kind of continues off of Saga. So it's completely self-contained, and you can pick this up pretty... Well, no, not cheap anymore. I picked that up for £3 about 12 years ago, if not older. But yeah, Orta's great. Orta's just such a nice, simple game. Oh, that's helpful, kicking my camera. It's a nice, simple game that really brings out a lot of fun that you don't really get anymore. Well, hell, rail shooters as a genre are kind of dead, aren't they? Which is a shame, but yeah. Unfortunately, that's the way of the world. That's the way things are. Game genres are dead. And the rail shooter is definitely one of them. The only one I've played recently is Air Twister. Don't want a sequel to this, by the way. Absolutely not. Absolutely do not want a sequel to Air Twister. Fucking weird game. Not a lot of fun, either. Which is a shame. It seems like the guy who made Space Harrier and Shenmue can't make good shit anymore. Because he's like, oh, I'll just make the same game from the 90s. Ignoring 25 years of game development and game evolution. But yeah, so that's it for this week. Let me know in the comments below what game series you'd want to see come back. It could be anything from, I don't know, Fallout Tactics to, say, Myst. I'd love to see Myst come back. Myst coming back would be amazing. Ignoring the fact that they're remaking Riven, Riven. Excellent. Please do Cyan World. Big fan. Yeah, let me know. Let me know in the comments. And make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and maybe go check out that Polymega review if you haven't seen it. Stick around for next week. We're going to be talking about Majesco, the guys behind Psychonauts, Advent Rising, and Blood Rain. And yeah, that's me signing off.